Good morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of Voice of Radio. So today, we're going to be taking a look at some very strange cards. You see, there have been some genuinely good playable cards that I'm convinced would have seen play, that were released in Japan and for some reason just never made their way outside of Japan. It is extremely strange and extremely weird, but they never found their way over here. Now this came to my mind recently as I was remembering a promo Alolan Meowth. Now, weirdly enough, there have been 3 promo Alolan Meowth, but there's one in particular that I am thinking about here. It's the only one we never got. It's the only one that actually had an ability. It was a gym promo over in Japan, and we never got it. It was released in the same pack as, for instance, Energy Spinner. An Energy Spinner did make its way over here, just in a set proper. It was part of Unbroken Bonds. It was the same set that gave us Alolan Marowak GX, which did come around as its own little promo. And it was the same little promo set that gave us a Latias promo. And obviously, you know, Baby Daisy, Latias, all of that good stuff. And that Latias made its way over here again as a Sun and Moon promo. We got it as a promo card. It was nice. So, why did we never get this Meowth? I don't have a good answer for you, ladies and gentlemen. I really don't. Now, this Meowth had a really nice ability that said that once during your turn, you may discard a wait and see hammer from your hand and draw 2 cards. And yes, this was an ability that worked on the bench. It gave you a draw engine, like a legitimate draw engine. And the thing is that wait and see hammer itself is a card that is super awkward to use. Now, wait and see hammer says that if you went second on your first turn of the game, you may discard an energy from one of your opponent's Pokemon, but it only works turn 1 and only if you're going second. So you want to play 4 to maximize the chances of hitting it turn 1, but you don't want to play 4 because you're only ever going to play 1, and even then you might not hit it. I suppose if your opponent played well, though, you could play 3 of these, but then they changed the rules so you couldn't even support a turn 1. So it's just not happening, alright? But now if you had this Meowth on the bench, then all of a sudden you can play wait and see hammer, and maybe you hit it turn 1 and get to use it, or maybe you don't. And it just becomes fodder. It just becomes an item card that lets you draw 2 cards, just like Bill from the base set, and Bill from the base set was good. It would give you a legitimate speed engine. We never got it. And the annoying thing is that Alolan Persian is actually a really good card right now, because it's got an ability that gives it immunity to tag teams, Ultra Beasts, and anything with special energy. It is seeing play. Now, to be fair, we do have that really nice Alolan Meowth that for 0 energy does 70 damage on your first turn if you went second. Good for cheeky KOs on weaker Pokemon, getting early damage on the board, etc. But the fact is, we never got this Alolan Meowth, and that's so weird to me, ladies and gentlemen. That is so weird to me. And here's the real rub, right? Wait and see hammer's rotating out. Now, I don't think, incidentally, that we are ever going to get this. I don't think this is ever going to make its way over here. I think the time has passed. But even if it does get released over here, it's going to be pointless, because by the time it comes out, wait and see hammer is going to have rotated. So it's going to be a pointless thing anyway. And we lost out on a really good Meowth that had a real chance to be really fun. And we just never got it. And now either we're never going to get it, or it's completely pointless. As a side note, we did see some play for Wait and See Hammer, but it was played as a one-off in decks that played Green's Exploration, so that if you did go second and play Green's Exploration on turn 1, you could search it out and play it. But it would have been so much better with this Meowth. The other one that I am very surprised that we never got, and I really do think we should have got, we're going to finish with some less likely ones, is Rainbow Flower. Now, Rainbow Flower was another one of these gym promo packs, and it came around alongside things like Glaceon and Leafeon, which were released as promos, and Alolan Sandslash GX, which again was released as a promo. But for some reason, Rainbow Flower just never made its way over here. Now, Rainbow Flower was an item card, a very nice item card, incidentally. And what it did was actually a tool. I mean, that's a subset of items, so I'm totally claiming I'm right about that. And what it did was give you an extra 20 HP, but if it was attached to a Pokemon GX, it had immunity on the bench. Now, bearing in mind, this came out in Japan a while before Giant Charm came out over here, this was a genuinely, legitimately viable card. Incidentally, the maximum HP also only worked on GXs. Does work on tag teams, doesn't work on any non-GXs. Giant Charm didn't come around until Sword and Shield. So clearly there was or Big Charm as it actually got translated as. So clearly there was a chance for this to come around. Yes, we still had buff padding before then, but the thing with buff padding is it only works on Pokemon with a retreat cost of exactly 4, which means it really isn't for every GX and Tag Team GX. Plus, it gave you immunity on the bench, and yeah, I know we've got Mew at the moment that protects your entire bench, but this didn't need a bench space, and you might not have Mew or whatever. The other thing to bear in mind, of course, is that for a long time, right until Rebel Clash just came out, we've not had Tool Scrapper. Which means that you'd be able to play this on your Pokemon, and we would have had a format or two where this would have just been completely safe. And you could have just left it on your Pokemon, had an extra 20 HP, and given yourself immunity on the bench. It was a really good tool that really helped out GXs, and yet it never made its way over here. We just never ended up getting it. And it doesn't make any real sense to me, because like I've shown you, other cards that came out around the same time did. Now, one thing as a quick little historical side note here, there was an IPOM that was in the exact same series. It came out about 8 months ago in Japan, of these gym promos, that also never made its way over here until the League Battle decks, the Pikachu and Zekrom League Battle decks, have actually now started going out. The lovely Primal Lugia has gone and opened one. Check out PokeGuardian.com for that. And it has been confirmed that the IPOM, which was a gym promo which previously never made its way over here, has actually made its way into those decks. How weird is that, ladies and gentlemen? The answer is kind of weird. I might do a follow-up video on that because I've had a bunch of messages asking me about it, so we might do a follow-up video on that in the not-too-distant future. Now, a couple of cards that were always less likely to come out over here, starting off with Palace Book. Now, Palace Book actually came out as an X and Y promo before later being printed as a Sun and Moon promo. The problem is they were only actually given out at tournaments in Japan, and they are trophy cards. So even in Japan, they're very, very rare, although Palace Book has seen a bunch of play. It's a good card. What it does is you draw 3 cards and it ends your turn. Now, I know that that's basically How, because How lets you draw 3 cards, or if you want a more recent example, How about Hop. But the thing is, it is an item card, so you can potentially play your supporter for the turn. Oh, I can't attack, I'll play this instead. In stalling decks, think of things like Florges, which are often going to end your turn without attacking anyway. Why not play this? And remember that the rule nowadays is that on your first turn, if you go first, you're not allowed to play a supporter card or attack. So you might as well play a card like this that will end your turn. This one has seen play over in Japan. It's a nice drawing item card, but given that it got released as an X and Y and a Sun and Moon promo, neither of which made its way over here, by which I mean anywhere outside of Japan, I think it's fair to say it never will. I am, however, very interested to see whether we will get a Sword and Shield printer Palace Book, again as a trophy card for tournaments, but even if it is, I still feel fairly confident it's not going to end up being over here. And the last one I want to chat about today is another trophy card. It is Player's Ceremony, and it was only given out to people in 1 year, well, there was a couple years to be fair, they reprinted it, that got over a certain amount of championship points over in Japan. It was a very, very sought after card. Now, Player's Ceremony was a stadium card, and fun little side note, friend of the channel Antoine Boulet did actually win one of these when they were around by smashing some tournaments. And it says, once during each player's turn, that player may draw 2 cards, and if they do, their turn ends. So, very, very much like Palace Book, a trainer card that draws you cards and ends your turn. The difference here, of course, is that it's a stadium, and it can be used by both players. Now, the thing is, drawing stadiums, we've not had a huge amount of success. Now, this sounds a lot like Tropical Beach. Wait a second, Tropical Beach lets you draw until you've got 7 cards in your hand. Surely this is significantly worse. Well, it depends how many cards you got in hand. If you've got 6 or more cards in your hand, this is better. And nowadays, to be fair, this is actually not as needed because we've just seen Rose Tower. Rose Tower is a new stadium card which is coming out in Sword and Shield 3, and it's literally Oranguru's ability as a stadium, draw until you've got 3 cards in hand. And look, if I compared this to Tropical Beach and said, oh, you might get more than you would if you were drawing till 7, clearly a lot of the time you'll get more with this stadium than you will with Rose Tower drawing until you've got 3. But you can play the kind of deck that can take advantage of it. You can play the kind of deck that's going to empty out your hand and then draw a bunch of cards, and it doesn't end your turn. So there is something to be said about that. I don't believe we're ever getting any of these cards released nowadays. I mean, certainly the Meowth is now pointless given that Wait and See Hammer is rotating out. Rainbow Flower is still viable for the next year. GXs won't fully rotate out until August, September 2021, but certainly they're getting less and less viable. And we're just in this weird situation where we had these 4 legitimately good playable cards that just never got printed over here. And the 2 trophy cards, I can kind of understand. They're super rare trophy cards, I get it. But I don't understand why 2 regular gym promos that were released at the same time as other promos that did make their way over here didn't make their way over here. That's just weird, ladies and gentlemen. That's just weird. But at this stage, I'd like to know what you think about this, ladies and gentlemen. I would love to know what you think in terms of whether these cards were good, whether these cards are viable, whether you think they're actually missed, or whether you think we never really needed them anyway. Let me know in the comment section. Go nuts, be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWasi, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that good stuff, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do exactly that. And please do make sure you're checking out youtube.com/WasiPlays, where you can find out about a whole bunch of games that don't have Pokemon in, but are pretty gosh darned awesome nonetheless. But by far the most important thing as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.